At Japan's Prime Minister's estate, some randoms talk about how the Blades, Phantoms, Invincible Kings, and Snowy Mountains, the four major guilds of Japan, are present, making this a huge deal. "Whoa, look!" one of the randoms shouted, as the top S ranks from the Blades Guild had arrived. They start criticizing them since they had lost 7 S ranks during the Jeju raid, because they were scheming with Japan's Hunter Association chairman, saying that it serves them right and that their days are numbered. After hearing them yap for so long, they halt. This angered the hunters, looking back at the yappers like they were about to kill them in cold blood, making them walk away with their tail tucked between their legs. This made Minoru angry, since when Goto Ryuji was alive, they wouldn't even dare to look them in the eye, calling them opportunistic bastards. Kanai spoke, stating that she heard the Phantom Guild had acquired the Snowy Mountain Guild. Since the two guilds combined, they would now have 4 S ranks combined just like them. Reiji responds, saying if they really think merging would make them the best guild in Japan, since even if every single guild in the country combined forces, they would still be no match for them. The Prime Minister shouted, saying why the Hunter Association hadn't said anything, screaming that a gate had spawned in the heart of Japan, and they didn't have a single countermeasure in place. The chairman responds to these accusations, saying that even S ranks aren't strong enough to clear an S rank gate, but national-level hunters might be able to. This one-eye man interrupts, saying to the Prime Minister that he was the one who had summoned all of the guilds here, so he should refrain from stating the obvious. Also saying that since they've all seen what happened during the Jeju raid, it's safe to assume the destruction would be on a similar scale. This dude says if they should hire Thomas Andre, the national-level hunter from America. This other dude responds, saying if he thinks the country has enough funds for someone like that, and since the recent spike in dungeon appearances, only a few countries would be able to send their hunters, and he's not sure how many hunters would even be willing to tackle an S-rank gate. Reiji responds, saying that there might be a hunter who would be willing to help them as long as he's paid. The name of that hunter would be Yuri Orlov, the barrier specialist and S-rank hunter from Russia. As Drippy Woo drives his car, he thinks about the fact that he received the Kartanon Temple's key at level 100, and he leveled up all his job skills at level 101, making him look forward to what would happen once he reaches level 102. He thinks about how Jinho is holding up by himself, saying that even though he's motivated, they should still hire more people to help out. Drip Woo noticed something in the corner of his eye. It turned out to be Mommy Cha making eye contact. She suddenly turned the other way, trying to walk away. And suddenly Drip Woo appeared right to her side, scaring the shit out of her. "Why are you running away from me? And what are you doing near my office?" Rizzy Woo asked, making Mommy Cha nervously try to come up with some excuse. She then nervously said how she had left her car in his parking lot, making Riz Woo realize how he forgot since they had used his teleportation skill last time. Mommy Cha gets the courage to ask Rizzy Woo if he was free right now. The questions she really wants to ask are why he had taken that photo with Soo-hyun, why he hired Soo-hyun instead of her since S rank is better than A rank, are the both of them dating? But as she closes her eyes, she tells him how Byung-gu had wanted her to relay a message for him. The message being about the source of his powers, surprising Drip Woo. He responds, saying that they should go talk upstairs. Inside the office, Mommy Cha asks why there wasn't anyone here. Jin-Woo responds, saying that Jinho was away on business, making her jolt since it was only the two of them. As Rizzy Woo made coffee, he asks her how did Byung-gu manage to leave a message for him with her. She responds, saying that she heard a voice that day when Byung-gu healed her injuries after being revived by Rizzy Woo. As Mommy Cha was floating in utter darkness, a hand had grabbed her, pulling her out from falling into the pit of the abyss. Byung-gu had told her to tell Jin-Woo to be careful of the powers that lie within him, saying that someone had pulled him out of the endless darkness, but after that he was no longer himself. Even though he was still conscious and his sense of self was still intact, it felt like he had become a slave revived only to serve him. The scarier part being that he was happy to serve him, making Mommy Cha ask him what he meant. Byung-gu responds, saying how Riz Woo's powers were incredibly strong, and that he must be informed of this, telling her to remember that Sung Jin-Woo's army is, his true army is. As Rizzy Woo is munching on a delectable sandwich, He wonders if what Mommy Cha said about how Byung-gun told her that he needs to beware of the power that lies inside of him is true. Either way, he has to find out the source of his power, saying that it was more important than getting stronger as a hunter. While watching the soldiers fight, Jin-Ho says how this reminded him about the days they used to raid C-rank dungeons, but Drip-Woo scolds him, saying not to eat with his mouth full. Jin-Ho asks that since his soldiers could move on their own, why he didn't just go about his business and let them do all the work. He responds saying that he couldn't, because there was no telling what the soldiers would do when he's not looking. But the real reason is that the farther away he is, the less experience points he gets. Jin-Ho asks him how his sister was doing, since she's been through a lot lately with orcs almost ripping her head off her body and stuff. Jin-Woo responds saying that the doctor said that she just needs rest for the time being, and his most trusty shadow is looking after her, so she's safe. Come to think of it, I should check up on her, he said, while activating the shared senses ability of one of his skills, which allows him to see what his soldiers see, wondering what his sister Gina was up to right now. A bright light could be seen at the end of the tunnel. It turned out to be a historical drama that was playing on TV, with Baru watching with absolute excitement. "Your Majesty! I implore you to reconsider, Your Majesty!" a character on the screen yelled. The panel switches to Gina, sleeping comfortably, as the TV's sound still plays on the background. Annoyed, Jin-Woo thinks to himself if this was the reason Baru started talking all funny, asking himself if he liked watching historical dramas. While saying he should check up on the others, he watches his mother buy groceries, watching as Choi and Yoon-ho are having an argument. But for some motherfucking reason, water drips off a shower head as it flops in the pool. As we see Mommy Cha take a bath unknown to her that she's being watched, making Felon Woo jump off his seat, blushing uncontrollably from what he had seen. Jin-Ho asks if he had dozed off for a second, and he screams, "No!" As he's thinking that he should apologize by buying her dinner or something. Jin-Ho says if he had heard about the news that an S-rank gate had spawned in the middle of Shinjuku, Japan, and if it isn't cleared within 3 days, that motherfucker gonna open wide, causing a dungeon break, saying that it's the reason why Japan had been recruiting hunters from all over the world, asking if they had contacted Daddy Woo. Rizzy Woo responds saying that he did get a call, but is still thinking it over since he has more pressing matters to attend to, since he's still got to deal with the Kartanon Temple, because it's an invitation from the system itself. He asks the space in front of him, "What exactly are you? Don't you think it's about time you told me?" The air breathed with no response whatsoever. But since there's only 1 day left for him to be able to use the key, he'll find out soon enough, telling Jin-Ho that if he's done eating, he should hurry the fuck up since they got work to do. In a hotel in Russia, this bear-looking motherfucker introduces himself as Yuri Orlov, saying that people call him the best support-type hunter in the world. As he deep-throats that beer bottle, he says how he looked at the file the Blade Guild sent him and commends them for evacuating the civilians from Shinjuku. But it seems they lack manpower, asking if it's true that Japan can only send 6 S-ranks on the mission. Reiji, the guild master of the Blades Guild, confirms this, saying that 1 S-rank from each guild must stay behind to deal with the A-rank gates that had spawned across Japan. Orlov responds in a drunken state, saying that wouldn't do. "How do you expect to protect your country with that plan?" he asked. As he slams the alcohol bottle on the desk, he says, $3.6 billion a year, making it 10 million a day. As he gives a creepy smile, he states how, if they plan to hire him, that's what would cost them, promising to keep the gates closed as long as he's paid. Guildmaster Reiji was obviously not happy about this, asking if he really demanded $10 million a day for his services. Minoru asked Kanai to tell him what that drunk MF just said, since she's supposed to speak Russian. But Kanai responded saying that she's not sure what he said, but she was certain it was not good news. Orlov starts cackling in his seat, asking if they would rather save their country for just $10 measly million a day, or let their country be destroyed just to save a few pennies, asking if they even have the time to be picky right now, when even licking his feet while begging might not be enough to get him to help them. Reiji responds saying that he must be really confident in his abilities if he's here talking all that shit. Orlov said of course he was, since it would be immeasurably better than hiring the hooligans behind him. Though Minoru and Kanai did not understand a single word he was yapping about, they could still tell that he was talking shit about them. Suddenly, a barrier appeared around them. "You won't be able to move an inch from there without me letting you," Orloff stated as he waved his hand, telling them to try to move if they could, leaving both Minoru and Kanai to question how he managed to restrict their movements even though they are S ranks. Orloff makes Reiji a deal that he'd stop the S-rank gate of his and even let Minoru and Kanai off free of charge. Reiji responds saying even though he has confirmed his skills, he still doesn't know if the government would approve the demands he was asking for. As he grips the edge of his seat tightly, Reiji thinking that trusting him in the only way they have, asking if he could make a quick call. Back in Korea, as Drip-Woo laces up his shoes, his mommy looks at him with a worried look, asking Jin-Woo if she really didn't have to worry about anything. Drip-Woo responds saying that of course not, since he just has an appointment, telling her he'll be right back as he exits through the door. The time until the door to the Kartanon Temple reveals itself is 1 minute and 2 seconds. As Jin-Woo closes his eyes and opens back up, he manifests the temple's key with it stating that the location where he could use the key had been revealed. Hit that follow thing.